I finished my exams. Yay! In celebration, I have decided that I'm going to bore all of you and maybe excite some of you and talk about Star Wars. What's Star Wars? Just hang on. It's gonna be fun, I promise you. I'll throw in clips to keep you entertained, okay? Welcome back, everyone. My name is James, and you are watching James of Many Names. For this video, I have decided that I'm going to be talking about not just a really top 5, but kind of a top 10, which are combined to the 5. Let me explain. I really love Star Wars, as you probably can already tell, and there are 5 particular things that I can pick out that I really love about the original trilogy and the prequel trilogy. I do like the prequel trilogy a lot, I will admit that. But the sequel trilogy has really been disappointing me. And I really think it's because of the 5 things that I love in the other 2 trilogies that are just not present in this new one, and that's why it's really bringing me down. Let's talk about it! Like I said, I will give you clips, so let's begin. Number 1, enticing characters. This is up for debate, and I freely admit that. If I look at the original trilogy and its characters, Luke is annoying in the New Hope, but I love him by the end, by the Return of the Jedi. Han Solo is also kind of a mixed bag. I love him in some movies, not as much in others. And Princess Leia, I pretty much like her throughout the entire trilogy. In the prequels, Obi-Wan is hands down my favorite. Anakin is great in the final movie, and Yoda's always, fun to be with. And I love the Emperor. He's not the Emperor in this, he's Chancellor Palpatine, / Darth Sidious, but I love him in this trilogy. Basically, I really attach to these characters because they have really good story arcs, and even if I don't necessarily like their lines, or maybe their acting, or maybe just what's happening in general, I still can get behind the story that's happening with them, and how they're contributing to the story. This is up for debate, like I said, but I feel like the sequel trilogy characters are just not really on par with the characters that have come before. You have Rey, who I enjoyed enough in the first one, Force Awakens, but she was a little overpowered, but I still enjoyed her, and she became really boring in the second one. Poe was okay in both, but also was kind of shoved aside in the second one. Finn was in the first, but was totally shoved aside in the second one. And Kylo Ren was slightly annoying in the first one, and also slightly annoying in the second one, and he's kind of the one I'm actually really behind at this point, because he actually has, I feel, a character arc that's going. So number 2, expansive worlds. Now, the original trilogy, of course, is famous for setting the whole scene of space, galaxy, planets, it did all that fun stuff, so of course it was new and original. The prequels took this way further, and I love them for it. They give a very sort of antiquated look. Like, I know we're only going back like 20 years in time from the originals, but the originals are sort of gritty, war-torn, they got sort of this darker element to them, whereas the prequels have this shiny and new, and think Coruscant and Naboo, and they have, like, in Camino too, they kind of have this really nice and sophisticated look to them, like this is the height of the Republic, or not necessarily the height, it's the downfall of the Republic, but it is a society that is sort of in its height in a lot of ways, and it could definitely be seen in the worlds and the architecture and in the ships and everything, and you just really got this sense of expanding the universe. The sequels don't really have that. We have Tatooine 2.0, Takodana I liked because that actually felt kind of different, and then you have Hoth but on the Death Star, and then you have Salt Planet, which is basically Hoth but with salt. Good try, good effort, but just no. And then you have Casino Planet with horse races. I'm sorry, alien things. It's horse racing and casinos. It's literally Earth. Like, they even have a cornfield outside of the place. It's Earth. Number 3, great lightsaber fights and battles. Now, this is fairly obvious why I'm putting this in here. The original trilogy had pretty great lightsaber fights, and the action sequences are all great. Hoth was amazing. The final confrontation in Return of the Jedi is one of my favorites. And then, of course, the prequel trilogy was literally all lightsaber fights. I'm pretty sure Revenge of the Sith is like 50% of all lightsaber fights we've gotten in both trilogies. And the battles are amazing, and they're in all 3 movies. It is, I must point out, Star Wars. But the sequel trilogy doesn't really have that. We have Death Star Run 2.0, We have Hoth 2.0, kind of. We have Takodana, which I enjoyed, but it was kind of small scale, so yeah, I'm calling it on that. We haven't really had any battles, and we have had literally almost no lightsaber fights. We had one in The Force Awakens, which was okay, but eh. And then we had none in The Last Jedi. First Star Wars movie ever, not counting Rogue One, that did not have a lightsaber fight. What? Half the reason I go to see Star Wars is for the lightsabers and the Jedi and Sith. I mean, don't get me wrong, I enjoy the other stuff, but where's my lightsaber fights? Number 4, impactful moments. Now, whether it's the Death Star blowing up, or the I love you, I know moment, or Darth Vader's reveal of I am your father, or Luke's tossing away his lightsaber and saying, you failed, your highness, I am a Jedi like my father before me. Whether it's moments like that in the original, or in the prequels where you have everything with Darth Maul and the lightsaber fight there, or the destruction of the droid, the Trade Federation's droid control ship, or the fight with Count Dooku in Attack of the Clones, or the death of Count Dooku, the betrayal of Anakin, the duel between Anakin and Obi-Wan, and Yoda and Sidious, and the destruction of the Jedi. So many moments in Star Wars are really, really impactful. Like, they actually hit me where my feels are. No, okay, not there. It really makes me feel excited, or it makes me feel emotion. I think the only sequence I can remember from the sequel trilogy really making me feel that way is the moment where Kylo Ren's reaching for the lightsaber in The Force Awakens, and it zooms past his head, and bam, goes to Rey. But otherwise, everything else is just kind of been there. Nothing really hits me where I feel it. You know what I'm talking about. So number 5, great story arcs. This is my biggest point here. The original trilogy is great for its story, but I'm gonna say I actually give the prequels the leg up on the originals when it comes to a story arc. Like, the originals are great, don't get me wrong. They have a really great story arc, and it really feels like a family story. But the prequels, even more so, have a great arc of the fall of the Republic, the rise of the Empire, the fall of the Jedi Order in their arrogance, and the rise of the Sith through deceit and cleverness. I mean, it's just so good, the whole overall story arc. Contrast that with the sequel trilogy, which has literally been J.J. Abrams writing The Force Awakens and starting the story in a particular way, Rian Johnson coming in for the second and basically ignoring everything J.J. Abrams was doing, and the whole arc that J.J. Abrams was going for, he just subverted our expectations and went in a totally different direction, which, surprise, he did succeed in doing that, but in like the worst way possible, where I think a very large portion of people hated it, and including myself. And now J.J. Abrams has to come back for the third one and try to finish the story maybe in the way he wanted it to finish, while also including whatever Rian Johnson threw in, because he totally ignored and did whatever he wanted. That's kind of my point. It's that good writing was in the prequels. As much as there was corny dialogue from George Lucas, he was writing it from start to finish, so the story arc flowed like a trilogy. That did not happen in this sequel trilogy. It's literally individual writers writing different parts of it's like 3 different writers for different parts of the book, without planning even the skeletal structure of the entire series as a whole. That's how bad it is. That's just bad writing. And it's very obvious that there is a disconnect between The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, and they are 2 very different stories. And just, you can feel it. And that's it, the 5 things that I love about Star Wars, and why I think those 5 things are missing from the sequel trilogy, which is really bumming me out. That's a very long title. I'm going to shorten that. End credits. Thank you all so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed the video. It is Star Wars, so maybe you don't enjoy Star Wars, but I hope you got something out of it. If you liked it, of course, click the like button and subscribe down below, and share this video with any other Star Wars lovers. And give me your thoughts down below in the comments section, whether you enjoy the sequel trilogy, and what do you like about Star Wars. I am also a writer of works, and I understand the importance of having a narrative story arc and great characters and great action and all the other stuff that I mentioned before. So if you're interested, go check out my link down below, Julius Julii. Book 1 Part of the Julii is available on Amazon, and it is the first in my series, Julius Julii. Go check that out and see if you'd like to support me in my writing. And one last time, thank you all so much for watching, and for whatever it's worth to you, may God bless you.